Hello, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and a very warm welcome to today's webinar on UAE's clean energy market outlook. Now, reliance, risk, and the way forward. I'm Geeta, and it's my immense pleasure to bring you an insightful session hosted by Dubai Renewable Energy Business Group, DREBG, an initiative under Dubai Chambers. DREBG comes with a mission to accelerate renewable energy adoption across businesses and the private sector in line with the UAE Energy Strategy 2025 and Dubai's Clean Energy Strategy. As Dubai continues its journey towards becoming a global hub for the green economy, our efforts are closely aligned with the nation's vision for a very sustainable energy future. As we know, the renewable energy sector is witnessing significant growth across solar, storage, energy efficiency, and sustainable infrastructure development. And at the same time, the industry continues to navigate evolving market dynamics, implementation challenges, investment priorities, and the growing need for resilient and future energy systems. In today's session, we will explore the current outlook of the UAE clean energy market, the key project developments, emerging technologies, investment trends, and the collaborative efforts required to strengthen a resilient energy ecosystem in the region. Just a small note here for all those who have joined us right in. We welcome you to DREBG community. Please feel free to connect with us to know more about DRBG initiatives and memberships. Now, team, could we have the slide here, please? So we do have our contact details, email IDs. Anybody who's interested to know about DRBG and would like to join our initiatives, please feel free to contact us and join us. Thank you so much. Thank you, team. And the details are also available in the chat box. And now we are honored to have an esteemed panel of industry experts joining us today to share their valuable insights and perspectives focusing on the current outlook of the UAE clean energy sector and the opportunities and challenges shaping the market's future. This discussion will explore key themes, including market growth trends, utility scale and rooftop solar developments, project implementations, challenges, technology innovation, investment opportunities, and the strategies required to strengthen a resilient and future-ready energy ecosystem in the UAE. Welcoming our esteemed panelists for today, we have Mr. Manoj Divakran, Managing Director, Imperial Energy and Services, Mr. Lorraine Longway, CEO, Generation Positive Zero, Mr. Rachid Hamida, VP, Energy and Technology, Innova, Mr. Mahabir Sharma, Advisor, AMEA Power, Ms. Victoria Shapwalova, Senior Manager, Deloitte. And moderating today's discussion, we are so very pleased to welcome Mr. Ravneet Singh Bhala, Director, Advisory, KPMG Lower Gulf. Welcome, everybody, and it's so great to have with us today. And we will also be having a dedicated Q&A session following the panel discussion. So we encourage our audience to share their questions throughout the session using the Q&A box. Mr. Ravneet Singh, thank you for joining us, and the virtual stage is all yours.
Thank you so much, Geeta, and good afternoon, everyone. Brief introduction, I'm Ravneet. I'm a director with KPMG Middle East, and I handle the energy sector related advisory as well as risk consulting engagements. And first of all, I want to welcome you all to the panel discussion, and the topic is UAE Clean Energy Market Outlook, Resilience, Risks, and Way Forward. Now, over the past decade, we as UAE have taken very deliberate and strategic approach towards clean energy, balancing the large-scale solar deployment, the policy support which has been given to this industry, and how the private sector participation can be increased within the industry. Now, as we move forward, the conversation is now shifting from capacity addition to the solar and the system resilience. Now, from policy driven growth to how we can make it more commercially viable. And then ensuring that the individual projects that we have, they are able to be built as integrated energy ecosystem. So today we'll explore more on where the market is and what needs to be done to scale sustainably and efficiently. So I'll just give a brief introduction about the panelists that we have today. And as Geeta has already mentioned, we have Manoj Divakaran. Manoj is the managing director of Imperial Energy. He focuses on hybrid solar and thermal solutions that enable the continuous renewable energy generation. He brings a strong implementation perspective, particularly in integrating power generation with desalination and ensuring reliability of the renewable systems. We have Lauren Longet, who is leading the generation business at a Positive Zero company and manages one of the largest distributed solar portfolios in the GCC. And he has more than decades of global experience. And he brings the deep insights into scaling distributed solar across diverse markets. We have Rachid Hamida. He is the VP of Energy and Technology at Innova, and he's driving the energy efficiency, the digital transformation, as well as the sustainability solutions across the region. And he brings a strong expertise in integrating the business models like ESCO, cooling as a service, and ensuring that there is digital optimization also into the energy systems. We have Mahabir Sharma. He's an advisor at EMEA Power, and he has more than 4 decades of experience in global power and energy transition projects. He brings both the developer as well as an investor perspective with the deep expertise across utility scale renewable and the conventional power systems. We have Ms. Victoria Shepa-Vodlova. She is a senior manager with Deloitte, advising energy organizations on ESG strategy, net zero transformation, and climate resilience. She works closely with a lot of leading organizations navigating the regulatory environments and ensuring that they unlock the value in the low carbon economy. Now, as you can see, that the panel is very well rounded, and we are covering diverse kind of aspects from the development point of view to distributed energy, implementation, advisory, as well as digital transformation, so that we can bring in a more comprehensive perspective on how we can ensure that there is a right direction of transition for the UAE, and we can generate those ideas which can help in the right navigation also. So I would start with my first question, which is more around ensuring that the journey that we are on, it's the right journey and how it can be progressed also in the right direction. So if we step back and look at UAE's clean energy journey, the progress has been quite significant. And it's not just in the installed capacity, it's also in terms of the clarity in the policy as well as bringing in the investor confidence. But at the same time, the demand landscape is also evolving very rapidly. Now, there is electrification, there is industry growth. Now, there are a lot of emerging markets which are driven by AI led data centers and which is placing a new pressure on the energy system. So, the key question that we need to discuss today is it's not only about growth, it's whether the current trajectory is sufficient, it's balanced, and it's sustainable also at the same time. Now, my first question is to Lauren. Now, given your experience in scaling the distributed solar across the region, how do you assess the current trajectory of the UAE's clean energy market?
Yes, thank you for your question, Pranit, and very happy to be with you all today. So I think it's UAE, has been in the region by a very large margin, the most active country when it comes to developing solar energy, renewable energy in general, and setting some very ambitious target in terms of carbon reduction. When we look at the solar targets, we can be very optimistic that UAE is on the right path to achieve this ambition plan. Just looking at solar in general, we have a target which is in the range of 20 gigawatts in 2030. More than half has been achieved today, and if we compare 25 to 3 years back, it was half as well. So UAE has been able to double its solar capacity only in 2 or 3 years, and only needs to double again to achieve its targets by 2030. So there is no good reason to imagine that, given the plans and the actions and the players on the ground, there is no good reason to imagine that we won't be able to do it. When we look a bit, we take a step back and we look beyond solar and green energy to the carbon emission reduction. That's where we see that there is a challenge. A lot has been done. But much more is to be done. And today we can see that there is a challenge to achieve these targets. And that's why we strongly believe in positive zero, but that we should not focus only today on solar, on distributed solar, but we should look at the full picture. And the full picture, it's about, of course, producing green energy. That's what we do with our generation branch and our distributed generation projects. But it's looking as well as efficiency, because when it comes to reducing carbon emission, you can do it by producing green energy, but by reducing your consumption. And that's an important, very important area where we believe a lot can be done. And the third one is about transportation electrification. A very significant share of the emission in the UAE are coming from diesel engine, from standard vehicles. And we strongly believe that there is a way now. Electric vehicles are becoming cheap, they are becoming efficient. Their autonomy is there to match the needs of most users, whether it's commercial businesses or individuals. And so that's why, as well, in positive zero, we believe that it's important to bring solutions to electrify mobility. So that's why again, to be able to be part of this, to take part in this plan for UAE to achieve its carbon emission reduction, we believe that it's important to address these three pillars. The solar one, we are on the way to win this battle. To win the battle on the carbon emission, we need to develop beyond this pillar to the two other: energy efficiency and electric mobility.
Well, thank you so much, Lauren. And I think continuation of the same point, maybe this to Mahabir now. So from a developer and investor point of view, particularly with your experience in a lot of large-scale projects and that globally, how do you view the UAE market in terms of maturity and competitiveness? What's your maybe take on comparison of UAE with other markets, and if in case there could be some learning points which can be taken, or it could be something to share with other countries also, if in case something which is happening at a maybe more mature level as compared to others.
Thanks, Ravneet, and thanks everyone, the panelists, for giving this opportunity. First of all, I would say that the UAE is a very mature market. The privatization happened in UAE way back in year 2002 or 3, when the privatization happened. And with this privatization, the growth in power sector has been tremendous. So now the installed capacity of roughly UAE is around 33 gigawatt. Out of 33 gigawatt, around 12 gigawatt is renewable itself. So they have done a great job here. And this is as far as power is concerned and the growth of renewable. And when we talk of growth of renewable, we cannot forget the addition of nuclear power in UAE. This is the first country in the GCC region, Middle East rather, which has a nuclear capacity of 5.2 gigawatt, 5.6 gigawatt, 1300 megawatt, 4 units. The last unit was commissioned in 2024, which saves carbon itself around 21 metric ton of CO2 every year. So this is a big step and so as when you say about the maturity of the market, They understand all the privatization has been successful. People want to come here. There is a efficiency of the government efficiency of working, the open economy, the political stability. All this contributes to the growth of energy sector. And I will agree with Lauren that when we talk of renewable or energy or anything, I think often we forget is the efficiency side of it. So when we talk of efficiency, it's not only efficiency of generation, the efficiency of consumption, the efficiency of transmission. In UAE, it may not be very high. I don't have a statistical data, but many countries, African countries, even in India, the losses, the transmission losses are in the order of 20%. But I think UAE doesn't have that kind of thing. But still, there is a lot of room for improvement as far as efficiency is concerned. So we have 33 gigawatt of installed capacity here in UAE, but the peak demand is only the annual generation, average annual is only 19 gigawatt. Still, the target for the UAE is by 2030, they have to add another 19 or 20 gigawatt. The numbers can vary a little here and there. So these are just the data we have from the government websites. And by 2050, the target for the UAE is to become the net zero. So I think the ambition is also good, and I think the direction also is very good. And there are the private players, their competitiveness is there. So people come, they invest here, and they also get benefited from the investment. The Al Dhafra itself is a classic case where the it's a 2 gigawatt power in Abu Dhabi, and the tariff is only 1.32 cent. Nowhere this kind of tariff has been achieved. And this is possible only because there is a simplification of the tax structure. You go to many countries in Africa, they don't know what they're doing. They don't understand, actually. They don't understand the whole privatization thing itself. So here it has been successful. I was rather first to be participating in the privatization of I when I say I means my company. So I was with Semcop when we did the Semcop, the Fujairah 1 privatization. And then in Oman, we did the first IWPP from AES. It was an American company. So Oman was also leader in privatization for that matter. Anyway, we are talking UAE, so we'll discuss UAE only. So I think the question is privatization and the renewable growth. Maturity of the market is there. It's there because it has been successful. And how you measure the success, you measure when the people are interested in coming to the market. And everyone, because the financing is easy, the banks are comfortable, everyone is comfortable, the suppliers, the developers, so I think that's the answer.
No, absolutely. And you're a veteran, Abid. So, the kind of transition you would have seen from the traditional oil and gas kind of focus to renewable, I'm sure, that's something which you would have seen in not only UAE, but other countries also. So you can tell the comparison, how efficiently and effectively it has been implemented here. So
Correct, yeah.
I think before we move to the next point, which is more on comparing the utility scale, the rooftop solar projects, and finding out the efficiency as well as different viewpoints on that. So I just wanted to maybe ask at this point that if in case we have let's say we have to move to the next phase of growth, and that growth will be driven more by the distributed and hybrid solutions, or do you see that there'll be more utility scale leading the way? So what's your viewpoint? Probably it's an open question. If in case anyone wants to answer on that, what do you think will be the future in terms of transition?
I think it's very clear now that with the AI coming in, the demand, not only the demand and the reliability which it requires cannot be met just by renewable. It's known. And that is why the countries are moving toward the SMR. Even ENEC is looking into it. You know, ENEC is the Emirates Nuclear Electricity Corporation. So as when we say SMR, it's a small modular reactor. In all the countries, whether it is Korea, Japan, India, China, Canada. Canada is the first to commission their SMR. US, everyone is working on it. So this is the answer it has to be hybrid all the time for the stability of the grid. So renewable cannot control the grid. That has to be understood. So it has to be
Absolutely.
hybrid. And the conventional power, and when we say conventional, I'm not talking about coal and all, but obviously the gas, the SMR, and they will come in and they will provide the stable power, because the kind of growth and the kind of money which is going into the market has not been seen before because of the demand of AI. Trillions of dollars are going into AI market, and that is fueling the growth of energy business. So you know that you must, since you are KPMG, and the transformers are not available, the equipments are not available. If you order today, you will get in 2029. The machines are not available. And then there is a limit to which you can inject renewable power into the grid. So it has to be balanced for the stability of the grid, for the reliability of the grid.
Absolutely. And I think this gives us a trigger towards the next point, which is utility versus rooftop solar. And so one important or interesting dynamic of the UAE is the success of utility scale solar projects, and which has been supported by government-led initiatives. And definitely, there is a competitive bidding structure on that as well. But when we look at the distributed and rooftop solar, the adoption while growing, it still appears to be below the full potential. And this raises an important question around whether the constraints are around technical, whether it's commercial, or it's just generally the adoption. And my next question would be to Manoj also, because you work on hybrid systems and integrating the thermal storage is one of the fundamental concerns around renewable. From your experience, how critical is the issue of reliability when it comes to adoption and taking the decisions, especially for the industrial users and critical infrastructure?
Thank you, Ramanit. Good afternoon, and thanks to Dubai Renewable Energy Business Group for arranging this very timely session. I would say, looking at the current scenarios, we are also looking at a lot of risk management initiatives across businesses. We're also looking at potential growth opportunities, because some of what we're going through right now will sort of force every business to become more disciplined, more technically stronger, and also diversify. And I would say that, as Laurent and Mahavir has pointed out, UAE has been a leader in renewable energy generation for quite a few years now. And we have shown that we can build renewable energy at scale. But I think the market is slowly moving away from the challenge is no longer about how to generate clean energy. It is about how to make it available at the right time and in the right form. So that's where I think the value of storage and hybrid systems come into play. Solar largely is an intermittent energy source. By combining it with storage and by allowing hybridization, you are turning it into a very flexible, you're turning it into something very reliable. So it's moving from something which is a available energy to something that can be reliable and flexible to meet all the industrial requirements. So for example, today, even when you look at storage, there are multiple types of storage that's available. You have battery storage, you have thermal storage solutions, you have hydrogen emerging as another storage option. In very remote places, you can club solar, diesel, etc., and batteries to create their own microgrids. So I think the amount of technology solutions that are evolving in the hybrid space is quite dramatic. And many of them are getting affordable, many of them are getting very reliable. There's a lot of operational data around these technologies. So it allows us to consider all of them in sort of integrating them into a very vibrant and a very reliable grid system. So today, the power flexibility, I think, is a very important topic because with all the different technologies and the way in which the consumption patterns are changing. For example, we're talking about large numbers of data centers, and some of these data centers will be woven into the urban infrastructure. So that then creates these kind of power clusters, demand clusters. Suddenly, you have certain areas of the city which need huge amounts of power to be concentrated in that place. So I think the allowing buildings to generate their own energy, starting from rooftops and distributed solar to utilizing the facades for architectural and BIPV solutions. At Imperial, we are a lot focused on converting the outer skin of every building into an energy generating into a generating asset. And also, when it comes to thermal storage, we believe that a lot of emerging chilled water and ice storage solutions, which are very useful for a place like UAE, because a lot of the energy demand is through cooling and the need for heat management, be it data centers, be it offices, be it schools, etc. So the ability to convert the energy when it is available in abundance into ice storage or other chilled water solutions allows you to manage this, convert the cheap electrical energy or sometimes generate thermal energy itself and store it to manage your cooling requirements sufficiently. So I do believe that the availability of hybrid solutions, the emerging technologies will allow the adoption of renewable energy much faster because it starts to address a lot more of the decarbonization challenges, and it provides industries especially who have varying needs across electricity, across thermal and cooling requirements to choose from these different type of solutions and provide the best possible flexible and reliable solutions that they could manage. So I do look forward to all these increasing technologies allowing what you call a faster and a better adoption of the systems, renewable energy systems as we move forward.
That's a very important point, Manoj, that you've made, and I think that's where the adoption is important. But at the same time, looking at what could be the real challenges. It could be around implementation. It could be around pipeline that we have. So now, looking at these challenges and bringing in the solutions also is something which is very important. So we understand the strategy and ambition are clearly defined, and the execution is often where what we've seen these projects they face challenges. And globally, we've seen these kind of disruptions in the supply chain, the complexities of the procurement and ensuring alignment between different stakeholders of the project also. So I think
Also, if you were to
yeah.
Sorry, just add a point on the challenges. I think the real challenges is that a lot of technologies are coming up and they do need clear direction from a regulatory perspective, from how can everything be woven together smoothly. You have EV chargers coming up, you have data centers. A lot of these are technologies which depend on each other. So I think they need more clearer, smoother path for real investment to happen and for adoption to also progress. The everybody needs certainty. So I think that is I think one of the challenges that all these new technologies need to be woven together into a consistent picture.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think in continuation of the same topic, that how to address these challenges. So my question is to Rachid also, that from your perspective, working with the organizations on the energy efficiency, the transformation, how do you think that how prepared are the companies operationally to adopt these kind of clean energy solutions? So what's your view on this, Rachid?
Thank you. Thank you very much. Hello, everyone. So I think somehow the UAE itself is answering that challenge with all the guidance and so on. So as you might expect, by 2030, we will most probably see solar panels or renewable solution on every buildings in the UAE. So the Emirates is not just becoming a solar producer; it's becoming as a solar city. And I'm seeing that the genius of the UAE strategy is that it works at both end of the scale. So utility scale for the gigawatts of base load for national grid requires, and the distributed rooftop solar for the resilience, the economics, and the democratization somehow of the energy that businesses and communities deserve. And this is the area where we are working called CNI, commercial and industrial facilities. So I think one of the number that should be at the center of every conversation about UAE clean energy right now, the country is planning to reach almost 15 gigawatts of renewable capacity by 2030. So this required two things. The first one is skilled people and premium and high level technologies. So indeed, to operate and to maintain that infrastructures, the industry need approximately between maybe more than 10,000 trained specialists in this domain. So, and today, I think the workforce is growing up to reach that level. Add to this the supply chain reality. So, inventors, mounting structure, high voltage transformers, cables carry global lead times of around 12 to 20 months right now. So the developers who do not place procurement order before a project is even fully approved will see their commissioning date slip before a single panel is in the ground. So you see that the timeline is very, very challenging, and taking into consideration all the supply chain challenges is become extremely important. And on the rooftop side, in terms of O&M and daily operation, soiling. In UAE, it's desert condition. Sand accumulation can degrade the panel output by 30 to 40% within weeks. Without a systematic cleaning regime. At utility scale, we saw that robotic dry cleaning systems are beginning to solve this. At the distributed level, it remains an undepreciated threats that might hit both the yield and the project, the overall project bankability, I would say. So, of course, none of these challenges are insurmountable, but they require the same quality of attention and the capital that has been applied to the project pipeline itself. So the UAE has been exceptional at building capacity. I think the next test and the next challenge is building an ecosystem to sustain it. So, and I do believe that this industry is ready for that.
Absolutely, Rachid. And I think you highlighted about supply chain challenges, which is something in the recent times we have to look at. And I would ask Mahabir also that now these supply chain challenges or the constraints, are they still impacting the timelines of the projects, or they are more towards the internal planning and coordination issues, which are becoming more critical?
I think this is it's not really dominant force still. There are always, like during COVID time, we had the issue of supply chain, and we still at Azamia Power, we delivered project in Togo. It always needs your planning and careful, implementation. And to the panel here, I will say that we had airlifted 150 people from India during COVID time on a private chartered flight to commission the plant in time. And the same thing happened. We commissioned two projects in Jordan. So logistics sometimes, because of the geopolitical situation and all, or maybe during COVID because of the pandemic, we have this kind of situation, but we can always overcome with careful planning and implementation. It's not now present situation. Obviously, the cost has gone up, the ocean freight and all that, it has gone up. The insurance has gone up. All this is there, and we have to factor into that, and we have to plan accordingly. But I don't think it comes in the way of implementing a project. Yes, it has to be considered when you are doing it, and this is always there. And we have delivered during this period. And we are delivering now also in Egypt. We have one of the largest project implementation is going on, 1 gigawatt of solar, which is being delivered. And this is the time when we are facing the problem of insurance, ocean freight, and all that. So I think it's a simple answer with careful planning and some margin in your estimation. You can deliver the project still. But these challenges are always there. It keeps on
Absolutely.
coming.
And I think COVID has definitely taught us how to handle these challenges in a much more proactive way. And we are building those kind of controls, we are building those kind of costs also as part of our project planning and project costing.
We
So I
delivered
think the
three
next,
projects during COVID time. One
sure.
in Togo, 50 megawatt, and two in Jordan, both 50 megawatt each, one wind and one solar, and all during COVID time.
Mm.
So
And
it's a
successfully commissioned.
yeah, it's a challenge, but you have to have the will to do it and the planning. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think one of the solution I feel probably, or maybe this is something which is being talked a lot about is, bringing in that innovation, bringing in that technology, which can help us in, addressing these challenges. So battery storage, definitely hydrogen, hybrid solutions, digital solutions. But there's always a gap between what is being discussed at a conceptual level and what is being deployed at a scale also. My next question is to Victoria. Now, basis your advisory work across the region, and you would have seen at your client space also multiple technologies being deployed. So how do you distinguish between the technologies that are truly gaining traction versus those who are still in the early stage or maybe towards the pilot phase?
Thank you, Ravneet, for this question. I'd like to add, perhaps before I jump into my answer, I'd like to add on the one of the previous points about materials availability and different constraints that we're experiencing. So I think the recent events in the Gulf also, I think, highlighting that solid risk management, good governance is absolutely cornerstone, and this is what differentiate companies that are resilient to turbulent times. And on the one of the paradigms, one of the very interesting ways of thinking about the energy transition is that we are moving from a fossil fuel economy to the critical minerals economy, really, because to scale renewable energy and to deliver on the hyper ambitious commitments that the UAE has in place and other economies and sovereigns also have in place, we indeed require all of these minerals that are coming from the earth that are finite in nature. So this is where perhaps shorter term thinking, of course, is managing operational risk, is managing the supply, managing your timelines and commitments, but also understanding the longer term supply risks, having a grasp over your entire perhaps value chain. That's what's also going to improve the resilience and allow the reaching all of the targets and commitments for both corporates and also governments. So critical minerals, not something to be dismissed. And then, Ravneet, to your question about technologies. In this region, right, the question is that the clients are asking, or what we're thinking about these days is not just jumping on what's sort of the latest and more innovative technology of the month or of the year, but it's rather how do I optimize the performance of my systems, because energy systems, because performance is becoming the differentiator. And it has actually been already mentioned that in the very harsh conditions that we operate in the UAE, a few percentage points of performance improvement, they give us a very material financial outcome. So the technology that scales these days is really a combination of good engineering, is a combination of disciplined operations, of strong cleaning, soiling strategies, of degradation monitoring, robust maintenance, robust operations. Because the technology solar photovoltaic is extremely mature, and it's it's really still very much the key pillar. But improving the performance and thinking about proven generation as in the terms of a systems, that's what's sort of the next on the client's radar. Two more points I'll bring up that the clients are thinking about is, of course, flexibility, is combining storage systems, hybrid systems. That's the next scaling wave. Here, the corporate clients, of course, they are now asking, how do I deliver on my decarbonization commitments? How do I comply with the UAE climate law that is just coming into force in a couple of weeks? And then how do I prepare for the national carbon registry, for the MRV framework and system that the UAE is building? And how do I do it while keeping reliability and controlling my cost? So, and there, of course, energy storage, different hybrid configurations is critical and a very practical aspect to think about. And thirdly, in terms of technology, something that we probably all tired of hearing is artificial intelligence, is AI, how AI is changing the game, digitalization, how it's leading to measurable outcomes. And it's nothing new, right? It's really just improvement of energy management systems. It's performance analytics. It's using AI for predictive maintenance, for critical equipment, transformers, inverters. Also optimizing portfolios that combine solar and storage for, forecasting, for dispatch optimization. All of that can lead to measurable financial outcomes and measurable outcomes also in your carbon emissions. I think I'll pause here in my reply.
No, absolutely. These are very valid inputs, I think, Victoria, because these are some of the technologies which are up for grab, and people are talking a lot about that. We know AI has already made such a large impact, but for this particular industry, I would like to ask maybe Rachid also the current impact of digitalization and AI. And how it is helping in improving the energy efficiency and system optimization.
Yeah, so regarding the technology, generally speaking, so, innovation stories in energy often feel abstract. So I will start first by put some concrete example that most probably people know that. So in January 2025, a groundbreaking ceremony took place outside Abu Dhabi that most of the world's media barely noticed. So it's about Masdar and Emirates Water and Electricity Company broke ground on the world first giga-scale renewable energy facilities. It's about 5.2 gigawatts of solar capacity, paired with 19 gigawatt hours of battery storage. So designed to deliver continuous dispatchable 1 gigawatt of clean electricity. Not during the day, not when the conditions are favorable. It's any time of the day, any season in the year. So for the context, 19 gigawatt hours of storage means you could power a mid-sized European city through the night. So this project did not prove that round-the-clock renewable are theoretically possible. It proved that they are commercially viable, contractually bankable, and physically under construction. So in the UAE right now. But the technology story does not stop at the storage only, of course. So the UAE is innovating across the full clean stack simultaneously. You have, for example, on the solar panels, high efficiency TOPCon cell technologies are now standard in the UAE utility tenders. You have the bifacial panels mounted on the single axis trackers, which follow the sun through the day and might deliver 10 to 15% more yield from the same surface area compared to the previous generation of fixed till system. And one more point is about topic that I want to slide in is about green hydrogen. So the UAE's national hydrogen strategy target up to 22 million tons of annual production by 2050. Mitsubi's 1 million tons per year clean ammonia facilities at Ruwais breaks ground with a 2027 operational date. So solar electricity is being converted into a molecule that chips like LNG without the carbon footprint. So going back to I would say the digitalization and so on, of course, on operations and maintenance, robotic dry cleaning system, now autonomously maintaining utility scale panel with using zero water, eliminating the desert soiling. So of course, today, AI powered forecasting tools predict solar output with the precision that allows grid operator to dispatch generation in real time and reducing somehow the need for gas-fired backup. So I think next step, as was mentioned by Victoria, is the flexibility, where we will combine most probably the distributed solution with the demand side and how we can make a microgrid, a smart city with the AI technologies and so on. So the technology in clean energy used to be the biggest risk. Today, it's the biggest enabler to the UAE. And this technology is building right now and starting demonstrating a lot of outcomes.
Absolutely, Rajat. And I think all of this would need a major investment. Nothing can move without finances. So my next question is to Laurent also now on the investment landscape. So from your interaction with so many clients, the investors you've been meeting, what do you see or where do you see the capital being flowing today within the clean energy space? And is it the focus on utility scale power, or are we seeing increasing interest towards the distributed energy and storage solutions?
Sure. So we have seen historically that the interest for investors and lenders, banks, international banks, and regional banks started with utility scale projects. As you were mentioning earlier, we are blessed to be in a region where all these large utility scale tenders have been well structured by well-organized utility companies providing a contractual framework that was making this PPA bankable and very attractive to investors and lenders, and it has as it was mentioned by Mahabir, it helps to reach in the region the worldwide lowest electricity tariff for solar. What's interesting in what we have seen since probably 2020, 2021, we have seen this the same interest by investors and by lenders shifting as well, not shifting, but expanding to the distributed market. So it started by some regional banks. So Apicorp is a very good example. They have been very active in supporting companies like us, but not only us, some of our competitors. And more recently, we have seen this interest and the attractivity of this business expanding to international players. So if I take the example of Positive Zero, we are today supported by BlackRock, the American companies. They have genuine interest for the Middle East, but they have as well now expanding this interest in the distributed solar, and they are investing in Positive Zero to fund our solar business, but as well as our efficiency business, our mobility business. This is expanding with lenders. It's not public yet, but we are closing a major refinancing operation in Positive Zero, attracting some international banks. So it's no longer now the regional players, but it's really the international players investing in this distributed business. It's a game changer because, as it was mentioned, this is what we do is capital intensive. Our business consists in putting $1 million on roofs and to get the money back over 10, 15, 20 years. To do so, it's really a capital game. You need to attract investors, long-term investors, and I think the market is now mature enough, and there are some players on the ground sufficiently strong, who have demonstrated their track record and their capacity to grow. We are in Positive Zero. We are soon crossing the 500 megawatt of solar assets under operation. So solid, large players with a track record in a market which is mature, which is well regulated, and the market which is growing. So the investors, the banks are here. I expect more to come. And so this should help, as we were mentioning at the beginning, this should help to continue growing this market and help this country, but the region in general, to achieve its target.
That's a very fair point, because I think now we have the funding, but there are some challenges in showing the performance against the funds or the investments that we have received, and then the logistics as well as the infrastructure also has to support on that, and which we have noted is they're not in the forefront of discussion. So mostly we miss on the critical role that the infrastructure plays in all of these projects, or once we have the investment also. There could be some logistical challenges also in this. So my next question is to Manoj, that from
Mr.
your
Ravneet,
experience.
if you don't mind, sorry, before we jump to the next question, right? I'd like to add something to Mr. Laurent's response. Yeah, because I think that important to highlight that in the region and in the UAE, there is a significant appetite for low carbon projects to finance. There is a tremendous amount of investments that are earmarked for green projects. And of course, all of the big global and regional banks that operate in this region, they're putting forward their own net zero commitments that cover their finance portfolio. And the challenge that the banks are often speaking of is finding the projects to finance, to assign, to allocate that capital to. Now, there's of course, right, like there's a lot of nuance there on usually the risk appetite of traditional banks, right, like is lower than the project. So the capital is there, is, how do we bridge that gap and help to connect the parties, right, like who all want to participate in this space. And the gap also right now is in the products, new products that would help the investors hedge the risk that is usually involved in some of the renewable projects, and also, of course, cost of insurance and general insurability, and just perhaps making sure that our financial system, which is built for a fossil fuel economy, right? That our financial system and financial institutions are everybody is upskilled or on the same page when it comes to this investment and to the flow of capital towards renewables and towards the low carbon investments.
Thank you so much, Victoria, for adding in this important point. I think for the next point, for the logistics and the infrastructure, probably Manoj, if you can highlight that from your experience, what kind of significant challenges you have seen from logistics related issues like material availability, it would be transportation, installation capabilities, and how these are impacting the project timelines?
I think in the current time frame, logistics is always a very important part of the projects because traditionally it used to be something that you move from design and then into the logistics and procurement. It used to be a standard function, but now I think managing the logistics and procurement is becoming an absolute strategic necessity for a good project that gets implemented on time and within budget. I think it's moving from a standard activity into what I would call a strategic initiative, a strategic game changer within the projects itself. And there are some studies which are coming out saying that the uncertainty in the supply chain and logistics could even add something like 3 to 4% to the overall cost of the project if it is not managed properly. I mean, this is from a cost perspective, and it could add months of delays to projects if it is not managed properly. I think my fellow panelists, many of them touched upon the various items like, high voltage transformers and various things which are not available on a on-demand basis. And if you look at logistics, it's not about making sure that all the big items are secured. Sometimes very critical small items can actually delay the commissioning, can actually delay the overall delivery of the project, leading to frustration all around and also cost being built up on the project. So I think identifying long lead items and having a clear strategy for all of them, making sure that you have multiple suppliers for critical elements. Sometimes it is not possible, but in which case you have very flexible ways in which you can deal with the situation, being very realistic about the project timelines, taking the logistics constraints into account. I think that also helps a lot in the planning. And finding diversified sources and also finding localized sources for wherever you can achieve that kind of localization. I think all of these are absolutely essential today in managing the logistics challenge. I also feel when you're deciding equipment, you should also be looking at possible alternatives in case logistics challenges go out of hand. So I think it calls for a lot more detailed project planning, ability to identify long lead items. And traditionally, we wait for all the design and material submittals to be approved before we sort of move ahead with the procurement. Today, it calls for more strategic thinking, having adequate stocks or having arrangements whereby you are able to lock in some of these critical items even while the final approvals are coming in place. Because when you look at the project challenges also, in many cases, there are a lot of hidden things which could delay a project at the initial phases, like authority approvals and various kind of approvals to start the project. And if they all add up to the overriding challenges that we currently have on shipping and various aspects of supply chain, together it can become something very difficult for the project. So I think being smart about it, anticipating that logistics is a far more critical element of these projects than it was before. As others have mentioned, COVID taught us a lot about being more resilient on the supply chain. I think the situation that is going around now is making us draw upon those experiences and become even better, because today we have shipping challenges. We are finding different ways of getting material, finding alternate suppliers, seeing what all can be done locally. So yes, I think logistics is becoming a very critical part of the project cycle right now, very strategic. And that is also, I think, leading to a lot more thinking behind how do we weave logistics and procurement as a very strategic element of the project planning.
Thank you so much, Manoj. I think considering the time, maybe I'll give very quick kind of. I would request everyone to give very quick response. So just like in maybe one line, if you have to say, what is the biggest risk to UAE's clean energy ambition, and what is the biggest opportunity that is there? So this is across all the panelists. Maybe quickly, just in one line, if you have to say, what will that be? So I'll start with Lauren, maybe.
I think that the main risk and opportunity in the same is the resilience we have briefly mentioned about the resilience that will be given to the energy network by the development of renewable energy. By nature, the renewable energy is distributed, and the distributed network, when it comes to producing electricity, is much more resilient to a centralized network. So it's a risk. We have seen that these days. But there is a fantastic opportunity for the country to become much more resilient by going solar, by decentralizing its consumption, the management of its network in general, and combining these different technologies we have mentioned about.
Great. Manoj, you want to go next?
Yeah, I would say the biggest risk is the clean energy deployment getting too far ahead of the ability of the grid to absorb all of these. I think that is a risk because they both have to go hand in hand. Our ability to take all of these intermittent renewable energy sources and build a very flexible and reliable energy ecosystem around that. In terms of opportunity, I think there's a lot of different technologies that are emerging, a lot of different use cases that are coming about. And with the advent of AI, it also allows us to use these technologies in a best possible way to improve the adoption of renewable energy across the entire energy spectrum.
Victoria, you want to go next?
Thank you. I was worried that I'm going to go last and all of the risks and opportunities will be covered. So thank you, Ravneet. But yeah, what is right is opportunity is nothing else than a risk that is managed well and managed early on. So I'd like to perhaps reflect that fragmentation is one of the biggest risks, and Laurent also kind of alluded to that. And that fragmentation, what we see right with one of the big blockers is regulatory fragmentation across the different emirates. So there's all of these nuances in different regulatory schemes and different requirements are becoming very costly. Sorry, I know I have 1 minute only. And other disconnect between the different players, right? So that could be turned into a strong advantage if different players in this would work together. So right, like it's investors, it's off-takers, it's power generators, and also connecting the systems and the different systems and the different utility providers working together to make the entire system seamless and smooth and well-functioning.
Great. Maybe Mabir, you want to go next?
So I will say that what I said in the beginning, UAE is a very matured market as far as power is concerned, and there is a great opportunity for the renewable growth in UAE. And this, the nuclear itself, 5.6 gigawatt, is almost 25% of the power demand the country has. It adds a lot of flexibility to the power generation and the system resilience. So the only risk comes with renewable is the grid risk, which becomes less here because of the addition of the nuclear power. Very few people realize that, but it adds a lot of strength to the grid. It's a stable power, which is almost 25% of the requirement of the grid.
And Rachel, what's your view on the risk and opportunity?
For being the last one, so I will try to turn it as an opportunity, not as a risk. So by being the last who is talking, I get inspired by all those very valuable co-panelists. I will pick up an idea from each one. So I pick up that Victoria highlight flexibility and so on, and demand-side response. Manoj emphasize everything related to logistics and so on. Laurent give some thoughts about the regulation and how the PPA and how green finance might promote and sustain this technology. And Marabir bring us some cross-board idea. So for me, let's have a look to renewable energy in the UAE as a holistic. I mean, not putting decentralized and centralized opposite ones against another, but let's take advantage from new technologies, AI and so on, to build a holistic and consistent premium ecosystems in order to sustain and to reduce the footprint and to sustain the business market and all this landscape.
Very well said, Rachel. And I think That's where we come to the closure of our session. And there are a few questions. Probably, I think some of these have already been answered. I would say that around the project finance and risk perspective, what is the way forward, uh, and which can address the bankability of these storage components. So, anyone want to take a stab on this one?
Maybe if you allow me, I think it's
Sure.
yeah, I think bankability is essential, yes, for such kind of long-term financing. It comes as soon as you have a regulation that is stable enough, and we have it in the region. It takes some relatively large players with a track records, and we have it in the region as well. We are one of them, but we are not the only one. And I think it takes as well a track record, and we have started to produce solar electricity or on roofs now for almost very soon 10 years. These projects are bankable, they are profitable, and this track record is demonstrated. So I think all the conditions are in place for us and I would say few of our competitors, but some, to be able to expand in this field. It's already there.
Great. And I think the next question also something related to financial as well as regulatory risk, which Victoria has already kind of touched a little bit on that point, that the difference in the regulatory landscape between different emirates and how this needs to be probably maybe made consistent, made much more easier to understand. I think that has already been answered. Or Victoria, you want to add a little bit more on that point?
Yeah.
That what would be the biggest financial regulatory risk?
Financial regulatory risk, yes. I think it's also it is a very, very sort of question that would depend on the sector. So there's a lot of nuances, a lot of detail. I can give 10 different answers, but I'll share some very interesting point from for example, real estate clients, where certain limitations in, for example, building codes do not allow the clients to deliver on the full ambition for example, or their full demand for solar. So the cost is great, the capital capex requirements are very low, right? So the business case for solar is there, but there's a limited capacity of what you can install on your rooftop, and also the building codes are quite stringent and not keeping up with the times, right? Like with the energy transition, with what we require for an energy transition. So the regulatory ecosystem as a whole needs to be updated, and needs to be updated faster than the current processes allow us to do that. So there is a bit of additional cost that comes with it, and regulatory risk, of course, because the regulation is evolving in real time.
No, great. And I think that I would like to pick on another question, which is, as a developer, where is the IPP or CNI space? How are you adapting your strategy to meet the growing in ICV and nationalization requirement? Maybe Mabir, if you are there, you want to touch base on this question? I think we've lost Mabir. Maybe we'll go to the next one. We have another question on the supply chain and materials procurement. I think we have already touched base on that. Manoj had explained this part. The other one is on how could we balance the rapid energy transition, clean energy expansion with the grid resilience, especially as intermittent renewable dominate the energy mix. How to overcome the supply chain costing? What would be the system balancing in energy? I think we have touched base on this question also. Anyone want to add a little bit on this, on the previous discussion that we had? Okay, great. I think that's it from the questions point of view. What I would like to say is that what stands out as part of today's discussion is that while the UAE has the strong ambition and capital, the next phase will be defined by the execution. And how can we scale it? How can we integrate? And how we optimize these clean energy solutions? So that is something what we will be looking at as a way forward. Thank you so much, all the panelists, and thank you so much, DRE, Rashri, Geeta, for arranging this. And thank you, all the attendees, for your valuable time as well as the questions that you have raised. That's it from our side. Geeta, you want to take over?
Sure. Thank you so much. And as we come to the close of today's session, we would like to extend our very sincere thanks to DREBG, our esteemed moderator, the distinguished panelists, and all the participants for being a part of today's webinar. We really look forward to welcoming you again for many more such initiatives by DREBG. If you wish to join DREBG, connect with us on the link shared in the chat box. Thank you once again, everybody, for joining us today. Wish you all the best.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Thank you.
much. Thank you for having me with you. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.